did not study the material, and I said, no, I studied the material, all of my assignments are good. So then obviously she said, okay, take it a challenge for you to ask or speak up at least once every class. And I started doing that. Initially it was a lot of heartbeat, it was a lot of adrenaline rush just to ask a question in front of many people. But then you get over it. So the first time you ask, it's a bit nerve-wracking. The second time you ask, it's less so. And with every success, and you will be successful if you practice well, you become better. And you eventually overcome it. And a couple of other things that will really help, I think, if you participate in certain kinds of extracurricular activities. For example, if you have a debate club, if you are part of it, because in debate you are put in front of a big audience and you have to speak. And yeah, if you are put in those situations, the more you are put in that kind of situations, the better you will get. Again, I don't want to boast about anything or give this example, but I really made this presentation today. I woke up at like 8 and I made this presentation. I had absolutely no idea what I was going to speak. I mean, I had an idea what I was going to speak. I did not structure it. Right? And I was confident enough. I wasn't freaking out last night. I wasn't freaking out in the morning. I knew what I was going to talk about. I knew that I would never know 50% of what I was going to talk about, but I knew I would pull it off simply because I've done it enough times. So the more times you do, the better you will get. I think that's just it. And if you are talking about, actually, I just want to give another point, which is if you are talking about applying abroad for grad school, I think, again, this is very crucial. Actually, I think this is extremely important. So I know people who are applying for grad school, and I myself plan to apply for grad school in a few years, a couple of years' time. And it's very different from the undergraduate admissions. It's very much of a bargaining process. You have to talk to professors, you have to get in touch with them, you have to tell them who you are, what you have worked on, what you want to work on, and tell them that your research interests align with their research interests. So let's say they're happy, they want you. Then the next phase is you want to get money from them. Nobody wants to give money, trust me. So now you want to take a share of the funding that he has in his research lab, right? So that's how grad school works basically in the US. That there is a lot of bargaining involved, especially these days when fundings are also hard to come by. And that's where if you're thinking, I have applied, I've given my GRE, I've given my GMAT, what have you, I have applied, I have filled out that application form, I'm done. I don't think you're done. I think you have to really reach out, you have to talk to them, you have to ask them if you can call them. Email them, if you know, in the email, ask them if you can talk to them, prepare a script of what you're going to talk about. Most likely they will say no, or most likely they will reply politely saying, what are your questions, reply to such and such person, because there are 5,000 people like you who are applying for the same position. But the thing is, out of those 5,000, 4,000 people will never ask, and the 1,000 who will ask, that's where the real competition is, and that's where you want to persuade, and you want to ask, and you want to be proactive, you want to provide those details. So yeah, bargaining, being outgoing, asking for things, I think that's absolutely key, and asking it the right way.
There's a question following, I want to share an experience. I will not take much time. Actually, I studied my earlier days at school. When I was very young, I used to study at Forestport school, and there I was one of the dull students in the class, and I ranked 7th and in a far away. But one day there was one teacher training came to the school, and she just taught few topics on science. And that day I felt like one of my windows to the brain just opened, and I went back home. I looked at my science book. It seemed like a story. And from that day, I started doing better. And only on that topic, actually, because, well, due to interactive lessons or she provided, I could do well in science. But I couldn't do well in other subjects because there were no teachers available for that. And now, my question is, you showed that there are some, endeavors that you're taking, or people like you're taking, that at very remote areas you like to teach people or students that how they should interact or how the teachers should interact. And now my question is it possible from the view perspective of our government level books students really can take interest, like science or other topics, very boring topics at the level in social, like civics and other things, in interactive ways and interactive vocabularies, interactive grammars, interactive way of teaching. Is it possible to do now? Because we're long expressing, we're longing to see something like that. Because I am practically someone who is very suffered from this protest that has been taking for a while. It hasn't been taken.
For high school was exactly what you described in your experience. That's what I felt as well, that a lot of students are somewhat forced to learn by rote, memorize equations because they have to do well in the exam at the end of the day. They know that the questions are coming from certain chapters, so they want to ensure that they're prepared for those chapters. However, in the process, sometimes they don't really understand completely what's going on. And think about it, it's very intuitive. If you find something challenging which you have to do, and you don't understand the benefit of doing that, you don't understand the purpose of doing that, and you are not finding that easy to do, obviously you will be driven away from that. You will only do it because you just have to do it. And for a lot of students, it's like that. They just have to learn science because they have to attend the SSC and HSC exam. It's not because they're interested in sciences. So the purpose of interactive school was to alleviate that situation, to alleviate that. And the videos that we made, one of my ambitions or long-term vision is that one day we will have these books from national curriculum with some CDs or material that we can deploy, or that they can just put into their computer and watch the videos, the interactive videos that go with the lessons. That will help them understand intuitively what is density, what is mass, what is weight, what is the difference between mass and weight. When I was explaining to them the difference between mass and weight, or one is constant and the other is not, other is the force of gravitation. So when we were explaining that, no matter how eloquently you put that in words, it's just hard to understand, especially for kids who are in 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th grade. But as soon as you show them something where a ball is on a scale, and the scale moves from Earth to Moon, and the weight changes, but the mass remains the same, that visual effect has a more permanent role in that person's memory. That's better quality of memory retention right there. And yeah, that's a long-term vision. Your question was, could we add those materials? Absolutely, that's what we want to do. We want to spread these materials. But first of all, before we spread, we have to ensure a certain level of quality. I personally don't feel that it's there quite yet to be distributed in a mass scale, but I've been working and I intend to keep working on this material to build them over time to make it better and to take it at a state where we can launch better on larger scale destinations, so we can spread the material. Now with the improvement of internet technology and internet access and internet speeds, I think in the next few years, probably the next decade, we'll be in a position where internet access will be at a much more mass scale. People at the grassroots level will have access to internet, and we'll be able to again spread this material to the common students free of cost so that they can access this and they can understand. Because when you also mentioned the way the books are written, frankly, I have seen